Today, we're going to be talking ventilation. Now, when you're growing in wintertime, ventilation is one of the key components to your success. It's how you're going to prevent your biggest enemy, and that is disease. We grow vegetables all winter long, and we get a really early jump start on our flowers with the combined power of unheated high tunnels and LowCats. Now, the biggest issue that you have in winter isn't really pests, aside from probably aphids and maybe some white flies. Your biggest issue is truly going to be disease, and that disease comes from too much moisture and humidity that can build up inside these tunnels during the winter. So the first way that we deal with moisture and humidity is this right here. These are ridge vents. We leave these ridge vents open all winter long so that we can allow airflow to move across our tunnel ridges. This pulls out moisture and humidity and draws in dry winter air. Another way that we manage that moisture and humidity is with our opening of the sides. Now, the sides of our tunnels are opened normally about 10 o'clock and they close about 2 o'clock. This allows us to keep the cold air out in the morning and build up some heat in there in the later afternoon. But during the main part of the day, when we have a ton of sun, it's allowing fresh air to come in and ventilate those tunnels. When our sun has come up and our temperatures begin to warm a little bit, we come outside and we open up the sidewalls on our tunnels, and we come inside the tunnel and we open up the sides on the low tunnels. This is going to allow a lot of fresh air to come in and flood this tunnel and kind of push that hot, humid air out. And that's really important to preventing disease during the wintertime growing. Now, like I said, the ridge vents on these tunnels are open all winter long, and that's because as it cools down in the evening time, the hot air builds up a lot of humidity and condensation builds up on the roof of the polytunnel. And having those ridge vents open pushes air out either side of this small tunnel, and it pushes some of that humidity out, which is really important as far as keeping a healthy crop going. Now, in the evening time, we'll say around 2 o'clock, we're definitely coming out and closing up the tunnels, closing up the sides on our low tunnels, because we want to trap the hot air in there in the later afternoon as long as we can, right? So we want to shorten the amount of time that our plants are exposed to the cold. And so by coming out and closing up the tunnels, closing up our LowCats, we are keeping hot air in here longer and therefore limiting the amount of time the plants are exposed to that extreme cold. You see, we don't heat our tunnels, and in unheated tunnels like this, it's going to get cold. There's a really good chance it's going to freeze inside the tunnel. You can't combat that necessarily, but you can limit the amount of time your plants are exposed to that cold by closing up the tunnels and adding that layer of protection with LowCats. Now, that's how we grow in unheated tunnels throughout the winter. We make sure that we get out and ventilate the tunnel so we're getting fresh air in and pushing that hot, humid air out, but we're also limiting the amount of time that our plants are exposed to cold. But that's what the high tunnel paired with the LowCats are designed to kind of combat, is shortening the amount of time your plants are exposed to that extreme cold. But during the same time, right, too much moisture can build up inside these tunnels and really create a disease nightmare for you. So adequately ventilating these tunnels is critically important to your winter growing success.